Book spoilers. Brace yourselves. I've been on a 4-year read-through of A Song of Ice and Fire. To you speed readers, I know 4 years is a long, long time, but it's shorter than Dany's been in Essos. Anyway, while I was finishing Dance, I saw that the Martells had a Targaryen ancestry that I wasn't aware of, and I saw how that history guided Quentyn Martell's actions. And that made me see George R. R. Martin's main theme, one of his main themes, of how children get anchored in this morality and this pageantry of stories, and how those stories can forever constrain their worldview. Now, a side note for this theme, that sort of theme of story entrapment, it's the backbone of a TV show called Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and its protagonist, Rebecca Bunch. So if you want to see how another writer tackles that subject matter, and if you want to see that in the modern day, I definitely recommend it. It's on Netflix. Great show. Anyway, the Targaryen trace in House Martell is rooted in Daenerys 1. Our Khaleesi has a distant, non-ancestral relative whom legends give similar maternal instincts. According to Dance, Daenerys, I quote, was sister to King Darien the Good, and it was her marriage that made Doran part of the Seven Kingdoms. At the time, the Targaryens reigned with the fruit of Aegon's conquest, with 6 Westerosi kingdoms. Until Dany, Doran was independent. While wooing present-day Dany, Quentyn tells her the story of her namesake. Whatever he tells her isn't directly known to us, but we can assume that it's quite similar to what we hear elsewhere in the book. Previously in the book, Prince Doran told Ser Balon about Dany I as he's trying to explain the cause of Myrcella's injuries. It's interesting because it's in the context of a lie that we find out about the first Dany. For one thing, Doran depicts Dany as a benevolent mother. She had Sunspear's water gardens built, and she allowed the children of her serving staff to frolic there. This reminds me of the attention that Dany shows the freed people, who call her Misa, or the concern that she has for her Marinese hostages. Though Dany I loved another man, she appears to have put her own needs aside and assented to her brother's request, that she marry the ruler of Dorne so that that kingdom might be integrated into a union of 7. There are no legends about Dany dissenting, although if anyone's read about that in Fire and Blood and there's something about her dissenting, please correct me and I'll make sure to pin your comment. Anyway, Dany's Dornish marriage might remind you of some real-world marriages. There was a marriage, for instance, of Ferdinand of Aragon and Isabella of Castile, another union that united the kingdoms of Spain. It's possible that George used this as inspiration for his own world building when he was constructing Dornish-Westerosi relations. Now, since Dany I bore a ruling child, her descendants have blood in 2 major houses, Martell and Targaryen. Hashtag Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken, Unburnt. Quentyn takes his blood mixing to the max, kind of like I just did. He's grown with stories of how Targaryens are connected to magic and dragons. In Westeros, the lore of Targaryens and their Valyrian compatriots are surreal. If Targaryens existed in the real world, they'd be the X-Men, and we'd be the humans choosing to fear or love them. As Quentyn puts it, the blood of the dragon is in my veins. He can feel his calling, his destiny as he puts it. Dany's then husband Hizdahr lacks that destiny with his Giscari blood in the eyes of Quentyn. Quentyn's whole demeanor, his philosophy, drives him to go on this sacred quest at the instruction of a divine father. For this extremely young man, that philosophy and those legends give him a sense of entitlement over Dany and her dragons. And more importantly, it generates a sense of self-importance. Interesting, too, is that as I was reading through Quentyn's recollection of Dany's legend, I remembered Sansa Stark and her A Game of Thrones bullshit. You know, she grew up with Old Nan and her stories and that world of songs, and so Sansa wanted to be a lady, rescued by a comely royal knight like Joffrey. And here, it's Quentyn who wants to go out and do the rescuing. You know, that starting point between Sansa's beginning character arc and where Quentyn psychologically starts, it's very, very similar. So, Does this first Dany seem better or worse than our current one? Does the first Dany prove that Dany won't go Mad Queen? I'm hoping so. And what do you think about the link between Quentyn and Sansa? Am I reaching there? Or, am I right? Or am I right? Click the like button if you'd like to send me a raven of appreciation. Hit the subscribe if you want to make sure your ravens don't get lost. And just know that there's some very, very juicy Kingdom Hearts content forthcoming. Later.